Already another one already. Strike. October 5th, 2021, Kellogg workers in Battle Creek, Michigan, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Memphis, Tennessee, and Omaha, Nebraska went on strike. What's happening? After a year-long negotiation over the master contract for the bakery, confectionery, tobacco workers, and Grain Millers International Union workers at Kellogg's broke down, 1,400 workers took to the picket line. This is all happening in the middle of a pandemic, when these workers were lauded as heroes and essential workers a few months ago, and this is their thanks. Kellogg's response to these loyal, hardworking employees has been to demand these workers give up quality health care, retirement benefits, and holiday and vacation pay. The company continues to threaten to send additional jobs to Mexico if workers do not accept outrageous proposals that take away protections that workers have had for decades. Anthony Shelton, president of the Bakery, Confectionery, Tobacco Workers, and Grain Millers International Union, said, or the BCTGM. You may recognize the BCTGM union from the successful Mondelez Nabisco and Frito-Lay's strike. They're back and ready to take on Kellogg's. What are their goals? The goals are to get rid of the two-tiered worker classification system and to stop Kellogg's from outsourcing jobs to Mexico. When Kellogg's classifies their workers, they are divided into two groups: transitional and legacy employees. Transitional and legacy employees receive different wages and benefits. Like the two-tiered healthcare plan Mondelez Nabisco workers protested, this two-tier wage system would divide the workers and destroy solidarity. The highest paid legacy workers are paid $30 an hour, receive benefits such as health insurance, sick leave, paid time off, pensions, and cost of living provisions. The transitional workers would be paid on average $12 less than a legacy employee. A different health insurance with high premiums and no sick leave or paid time off. So transitional employees would have to use their unpaid vacation days to cover sick days. This is especially detrimental to any worker with a chronic condition. At the last contract negotiations in 2015, the cap on transitional employees was placed at 30%, but Kellogg's wants to remove the cap entirely. Kellogg's workers are worried that if the cap is removed, the company would slowly phase out legacy workers until transitional workers are the only workers left. Having the 30% cap in place guaranteed that workers would receive promotion into legacy status whenever Kellogg's hires more workers. Without the cap, no one would make it to legacy status. Kellogg's proposal would remove cost of living provisions. Cost of living provisions are a clause in the worker's contract that provides an automatic wage increase tied in some way to cost of living rises in the economy. So, workers can afford to live. And the cost of living has been steadily increasing in America since the 1970s. High inflation undermines any increase in wage as the cost of basic commodities such as used vehicles, food, furniture, clothes, recreational goods, and insurance have risen dramatically. According to data provided by the United States Department of Labor, average hourly earnings rose from $29.74 to $30.33 from May 2020 to May 2021, a nominal increase of less than 2%, with a year-to-year inflation rate of 5%. This means workers have seen their real wages decline by more than 3% within the past year. Though people may claim that the cost of living stopped increasing in 2020, that was due in part to eviction and rent moratoriums. What's going to happen when people need to pay all that back rent? Oh, right. High health insurance premiums are a huge problem. The premium is the amount of money someone has to pay a month for health insurance. When employers are choosing health insurance for their workers, they want the one that costs them the least. And health insurance companies want them to pick the one that gives them the most money. So with a high premium insurance plan, employers typically will pay a small percentage of the premium, while the worker is forced to cover the rest. High premiums are also good for the employer because any money they contribute to it is tax deductible. Health insurance companies will offer companies deals to take their high premium options because then they get the most money from monthly premiums from the workers. So everyone wins except for the workers. They lose. They lose a lot, especially their wages. Removing the cap means eventually all workers will be paid $17 to $19, which compared to other companies paying federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour, that seems like a lot. But keep in mind, this is a pay decrease of $12. Kellogg's spokesperson Chris Boehner said in an email that the average earnings of a Kellogg cereal worker came to around $120,000 last year, and that most employees, i.e. legacy ones, have unparalleled, no-cost, comprehensive health insurance. Dan Osborne, a plant mechanic and president of the local in Omaha, Nebraska, said, "Say you got a guy on legacy making $30 an hour. The crude math at 40 hours a week, that would be $60,000 a year," he explained. To get to $120,000, that's how much overtime people are working. And there is a lot of overtime to be had. Employees are working 12 to 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. One worker said that they didn't have any more time for friends since they got a job at Kellogg's. The insane amount of overtime is due in part to the worker shortage and the increased demand during the pandemic. Kellogg's may or may not want to outsource jobs to Mexico. Kellogg's released a statement denying that they had any intention of moving to Mexico. It's more likely that the threat of outsourcing jobs is a scare tactic Kellogg's is using against BCTGM. This wouldn't be the first time. At the last contract negotiation in 2014, Kellogg's threatened to close the Memphis, Tennessee plant and open one in Mexico if the union didn't increase the cap on transitional workers to 30%. And now they're threatening to take their ball and go home if the cap isn't totally removed this time. And to add a little cherry on top, Kellogg's wants to remove the union symbol from the packaging, which just seems extremely petty and meant to demoralize the union workers that made Kellogg's. Just disloyal. As one worker says, "We had to work through this COVID for the last 2 years and they've just shown disrespect for the union name. They even want to remove our union logo from the cardboard cereal box. In addition to the disrespect, without the union logo, it will make it easier for the company to move to non-union locations." And all this is happening at a time when Kellogg's had an increase in profit of $13.8 billion. This is not the first time Kellogg's has been caught being shitty. During the previous contract negotiations, Kellogg locked out the BCTGM union workers. A lockout is kind of the opposite of a strike. Instead of workers choosing to stop working, the company will lock them out of work by changing the locks, locking out key cards, hiring security guards, and refusing to let workers clock in. A company may want to lock out employees that are organizing or engaging in a slowdown. Slowdowns are when workers will reduce productivity by slowing down their work. It is seen as a safer option to strike, as workers will still receive pay during a slowdown, though they can be fired for participating in a slowdown. In response to dealing with a slowdown, the company will lock out the workers and hope to provoke them into staging a strike. During a lockout, the company can only bring in temporary replacements and have to pay the locked out employees unemployment benefits. But during a strike, they can hire permanent employment replacements and don't need to provide unemployment benefits. However, there are specific legal conditions for companies to lock out workers. Employers cannot lock out workers during contract negotiations, which Kellogg's did. The National Labor Relations Board decided in Kellogg's lockout that it was done illegally and that Kellogg had to pay all the employees that were locked out any loss of earnings. Hell yeah! But in 2016, a federal appeals court overturned the NLRB decision. Hell no. How do we support the workers? Share! All social media links are in the description. Plus, the BCTGM has a flyer that people can download and pass them out or hang them up around their neighborhood. And normally, this is the point where I say, don't cross the picket line and don't buy Kellogg's. But it's not that simple this time. The pandemic has had an interesting effect on food production, particularly pantry staples such as cereal. Due to the early pandemic panic grocery shopping, demand for food shot way up. Grocery stores and factories were not prepared for the high demand, and it has set food production stocks back by months. For Kellogg's, the demand jumped by 9%, and they weren't prepared. High demand tied with the worker shortage has put a tremendous amount of pressure on Kellogg's cereal plants. So the BCTGM has not sanctioned a boycott. There are two possibilities for why. One, they know about the huge demand and worker shortage and they want to put even more pressure on Kellogg's as they try and fulfill all the orders. Or two, the BCTGM wants to wait to sanction a boycott as a tool if negotiations start again with Kellogg's. Either way, I will put any updates on the strike, and if BCTGM sanctions a boycott, I will put it in the pinned comment. As usual, please donate to the BCTGM and Kellogg's workers. Any strike funds will be in the description, and sign the petition. If you're in the area, you can join a pickup line or drop off food and water. Protest locations will also be in the description. I was stuck in bed and you were stuck here with me, but now you may go and live your lives. Go, be cute, keep gay, be crime. Bye!
Julie, do the thing.
Don't freak out, it's not real.